Hey, what's up? My name is John Von Jor. I'm a comic artist and film enthusiast. I have an entirely new camera and audio setup, so we are just gonna have to see how that goes today. I do want to enthuse about some film. We're gonna talk about the first 2 episodes of Daredevil Born Again. So Daredevil Born Again stars Charlie Cox and Vincent D'onofrio as Daredevil and Kingpin, respectively, and it's directed and showrun by Benson and Moorhead, a directing team that I love. They've done some really very interesting kind of low-budget horror indie movies. They also did a lot of Moon Knight, which I think was overall a very good show, so I think we're in good hands there. And I do just want to say this is probably going to be a relatively short video, not because I'm not interested or not excited to make the video, but because we only have 2 episodes, so there's a lot of things that I can't really assess whether that's good or bad. Most of the themes are just getting set up, most of the character arcs are only beginning. We haven't seen the whole show, so I can't speak to whether those things are working or not. That said, I'm going to talk about a couple of things that I don't really love and a bunch of things that I absolutely do. Overall, though, I am hugely excited about this season. I think this show is very well handled as a general, and I'm excited to see where we go. Starting with a couple of things that I don't like, the CGI for that first Daredevil stuff just isn't good. I think that there's a lot of people out there who are trying to defend it in this weird way of being like, oh, you're being too critical, whatever, like this is all perfect, this is all great. It's more heightened than you're used to, so you just don't see how good it is. And quite honestly, I think that's stupid. I think that the CGI so far for all the Daredevil swinging around is just not great. It's rubbery, it feels fake, and I don't hate that. I like a good rubbery CGI, but I know that they can do better, and I'm hoping that a lot of that is because they're using the budget for things later on that are going to be bigger and more important to look better. That said, our first introduction to Daredevil swinging around, while not horrible, is not fantastic. And we've already seen that kind of thing done better in She-Hulk with Daredevil jumping around, doing the acrobatics. That felt more human, real, and grounded than this does, which is really weird to say because this ends with him getting stabbed like 13 times and pushing a guy off a roof. The thing that I think is interesting about that is the people that were really aggressive about She-Hulk CGI are now suddenly defending Daredevil CGI. Take what you want from that. I'm just noticing a thing that I'm noticing. All I'm saying is if you weren't okay with She-Hulk CGI, you shouldn't be okay with Daredevil's because they're probably right about the same level in the worst moments. Now, like I said, hopefully those will be better as we go on through the season. Just like She-Hulk's, I think generally speaking, She-Hulk CGI was solid with a couple of caveats of it not being great here and there. The other thing that I'm not 100% sure I like, spoilers for episode 1, killing Foggy is a bold choice, and I'm not entirely sure what I think of that yet. Obviously, it depends on how we use this arc, what we do with it. I feel that if it was just to have Matt have to quit for a little bit, that's a waste of this character. I think Foggy deserves better than to just be killed off episode 1 and be the instigator of a plot. I think that is hugely disappointing if that's where we're going. I don't know that that's where we're going. There could be a lot more depth, there could be a lot more to it than we already know. It's possible that he's not dead, although who knows? There was a quote that was going around recently where one of the showrunners was saying that like, oh yeah, we're gonna have Foggy and Karen back in season 2, and what? That feels like such a misguided quote in either direction because A, it's possible that Foggy isn't dead, in which case, why would you put that quote out now instead of when we learn that Foggy isn't dead, so that that's not completely ruining the surprise? Or B, they're in flashbacks, in which case they're not really coming back in the show. You're gonna see more of them, but they're not coming back into the show. So that just feels like such a weird quote to say in the middle of this moment. Other than that, though, I think this show is great so far. I love the pace that we're going at. I love how intricately detailed the character arcs are already becoming. I think it's very interesting watching Daredevil be Matt Murdock for a while. I love that. I think there's probably people that are gonna be upset that we don't see more of Daredevil so far. I won't imagine that that's going to go on for too much longer. I think we just saw by the end of episode 2 the start of Daredevil again. I love that bit where he's like, don't do this, like I don't want this. And you can tell that for him, it's because he doesn't want to get back in. He doesn't want to dive back into this world of violence. Little note, I'm pretty sure that cop had a Punisher tattoo. Very interested to see what we do with that. If that's going to be like are we going to tackle some of the cops that are using the Punisher's logo as a not great thing. Is that where we're going with that? Is there going to be some kind of weird gang of people that are all thinking the Punisher is this super amazing hero? Again, I'm probably not going to do Theory Corner because I don't think this is really a show that it wants you to. But if I was going to do Theory Corner, that would probably be my theory, is that there's going to be like a gang of Punisher goons that he probably hates, that I think is really fun. We'll see where that goes, though. Obviously, I'm getting all of that from a single tattoo, so who knows. Otherwise, Vincent D'onofrio is great. Charlie Cox is phenomenal. This is the best acting we've seen from either of them in this version of these characters. I love that diner scene. I think it's so much fun to watch them reminisce and also hate each other, but kind of understand that idea of giving up their past selves. A lot of interesting themes that are started. We'll see how much of those get paid off on. But so far, I'm very invested in the show. It's very good to see Daredevil back. It's good to be in that world again. I also love the way that they're integrating it into the MCU so far. It feels like the first couple seasons of Daredevil were kind of ramping up into this. This doesn't feel like it's not part of that, but it also doesn't feel like if he shows up in an Avengers movie or a Spider-Man movie, it doesn't feel like he'll be completely out of place. I think they've just upped his power level enough that it kind of makes sense and he fits in the world without being a completely different character from what he was before. Other things, the lighting on the show is beautiful. There's that incredible scene where Murdock is standing on this busy, crowded street, big flashing red light, and he just gets illuminated in red every once in a while. Beautiful. When Bullseye shows up and he is walking out of that smoke and there's the big bright lights, it feels stylized and cinematic in a way that I was really not expecting and very, very much enjoy. Daredevil kneeling on the roof, being stabbed, having these knives sticking out of him. The imagery there is so cool and so engaging. I think it's just a well shot, very visually exciting show so far anyway. I'm very excited to get more Daredevil-y bits. As much as I love the pace that the show is going, I also look forward to Daredevil. We're here for Daredevil. Give us some Daredevil. I'm sure there are people that are upset that he wasn't really in the first 2 episodes, and I don't know that I entirely would fault you for that feeling, but I personally don't agree. I think it's very interesting to see him engage with this other human side of himself before being dragged back into the Daredevil, and I want to see him kind of reconcile with that. I don't know why we're calling it Born Again, other than maybe just that Daredevil was killed because he didn't want to be Daredevil anymore. It feels kind of weird because we already sort of did the Born Again story from the comics, so I'm not sure where we're going with that. It's entirely possible that Born Again is fully just Matt killed Daredevil and now he's bringing him back born again. There you go. It's also possible that Foggy comes back and he's born again. So yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on Daredevil Born Again so far. I'm very excited to see where we go with it. I can't wait to see the rest of the show, but until then, what did you think? What do you think of the first 2 episodes? Are you upset that there's not more Daredevil action? What did you think of the CGI? Where are you at with this show so far? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching this video and checking out my channel. If you'd like to hear more of my thoughts on movies, comics, TV shows, Daredevil, anything of the like, hit the like button, the subscribe, and comment down below what you'd like me to review next, or do none of that because I am not your dad.